The White House called me the night before saying, "We know that you're going to be loyal. You're President Biden's most loyal supporter," which like is so reminiscent of something you'd hear from The Godfather. So they threatened me. Dave, we didn't have a president in the
Right.
We had a council of these unelected people that you've never even heard of, and they're Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, and Steve Ricchetti.
Meet the woman who just dropped a political nuke on the Democratic Party. Her name is Lindy Li, and she wasn't just some campaign intern stuffing envelopes. She was a Kamala Harris surrogate, a Biden megadonor, and a Democratic National Committee leader with deep ties across the party. Before politics, she was an investment banker at Morgan Stanley, and she's been raising serious money for Democrats for years, not just for candidates, but also for cancer research and major causes. This woman sat on national boards. She hosted elite fundraisers. She was one of the party's top connectors to the Asian American community. I'm talking about someone who didn't just donate money, she literally donated buildings to the campaign. That's how invested she was. She was in the room. She saw everything. And now, she's done being loyal. She's telling the truth, and the truth is ugly. She didn't take this to CNN. She didn't take it to MSNBC. She took it to Dave Rubin, the guy the left tries to cancel every day because he gets to the truth. And in this interview, Lindy confirms what we've been saying for years. Biden was never in control. Kamala is an incoherent mess. Jill Biden was high on power, and the country was actually being run by a group of unelected political lifers no one voted for, and most Americans have never even heard of. This isn't speculation. This isn't conspiracy. This is straight from someone inside the machine. And oh yeah, she's writing a book. And she says they should be scared. They should be, because this is just the beginning.
Throughout 2023, I raised concerns, actually before, but I really started redoubling my efforts about Biden's cognitive decline because it was so apparent to me that there was something wrong here. And so I saw the marked decline in Biden. What you said, though, Jill didn't kind of want him to stay. Jill desperately wanted him to stay. And please bear in mind that during this time, Biden had COVID, and Hunter was basically sitting in on White House meetings, high-level meetings that required security clearances. This guy is honestly, I'm not even entirely sure if he's a recovering drug addict.
They did find cocaine at the White House in an area that he was one of the few people that was in. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's undeniable that he peddled his influence to enrich himself and the big guy, quote unquote. So this is a guy sitting in the Oval Office, listening in on top-level White House meetings throughout this time, throughout the month of July. And I know because my friends are senior aides, and, to like Steve Ricchetti and Nina Dunn. So Biden was like incapacitated this entire time because he was really sick. Yeah, she was pretending to be a moderate when I distinctly remember her praising woke on stage. I think she said it's good to be woke. Everyone.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's a million examples. Yeah.
Right. And she lambasted someone too for, I have no, like, she would just say this crazy stuff. And then I just don't understand, because when I speak to her on a one-on-one basis, she's not an idiot, I don't think, or unless my powers of discernment are completely off. But when she talks on stage, her brain completely melts. And it occurred to me that we don't just have one leader in cognitive decline. We had two. And I just don't trust her to be handling our nuclear arsenal. I mean, this is no joke here, okay? This isn't some playground political thing. This is our nation at stake. So at the end of it, because the left had gotten so crazy and doubled down on identity politics, and the chair of the party, who continues to attack me to this day for calling him out for lying about Biden's cognitive decline, he called me a narcissist for pointing that out, by the way. I don't know what that has to do with me. I was talking about him. There was no money coming in other than the monthly recurring ActBlue donations that they trick you into giving, obviously. But this is not an exaggeration. There was no money coming in after the debate. Like, I mean, zero.
Right.
There were staffers who I would just be like shooting the shit with on the sofa because they had nothing to do. And we would just be commiserating because everybody lost faith. So Biden kind of markets his decision as an act of patriotism. It wasn't. There was no money coming in. So there's no way he would have continued. There's just no way. But James Clyburn insisted. Actually, he wanted Biden to endorse him in the first tweet. There were 2 tweets and separated by half an hour. But the fact that Biden endorsed her so quickly afterwards was because of James.
So what is the influence that James had over Biden? That Clyburn had over
South Carolina, that's salvation. Because there would be no presidency were it not for Clyburn. And he kind of flies under the radar, but Clyburn is at every major fundraiser, right?
So just to be clear, you don't know who was in the room when he made that final decision, if we're to believe
Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donnellan, and his family.
Oh, so you do know.
Yeah, I'm just saying that Nancy Pelosi wasn't there on that day, yeah.
Got it.
And by the time they hated her so much, they continue to hate her so much. It's just, I don't think it's something that can be amended at this point. There's so much animosity. And I also want to mention that Team Harris and Team Biden hated each other like throughout, not just the final year, but throughout. I never planned on leaving the party, but how could you ask someone to stay in an abusive relationship? Am I allowed to use profanity on here? And I'm not using it.
This is the internet. Do your thing.
Okay. They would call me, and even today, go look at my comments. I'm speaking out on immigration, which is something I really care about. They call me a slut, chink, whore, cunt, whatever, on a daily basis. And all that is fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I can survive it. But when you attack my family and you find their address, you find again with my parents. When you attack my parents, who have frankly had nothing at all to do with this, it just, it's like beyond crossing the line. I told you, I am writing a book, and people should be scared. People in the Democratic Party from Biden on down. I remember everything. I have a very strong hippocampus. And everybody, they should be scared because I know exactly where the bodies are buried.
So Lindy Li, who again was deep inside the Democrat machine, says the quiet part out loud. We didn't have a president. We had a council. That's her exact phrase. And who was on this council? Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, Steve Ricchetti. 3 names you've never voted for. Hell, most people have never even heard of them, but they were the ones running the country. Biden? He was just the weekend at Bernie's figurehead being wheeled from speech to nap. And you know what? We all knew it. We saw the teleprompter stumbles, the vacant stares, the lost exits, the blank nods, but we were told, no, no, no. Behind closed doors, he's sharp as ever. That was the media line. That was the White House spin. And it was total, excuse my language, bullshit. Lindy confirms it. Not only was Biden mentally declining, she says Hunter was sitting in on national security meetings. No security clearance, no qualifications. Just crackhead nepotism with a seat at the table. Meanwhile, the actual work of running the country was outsourced to unelected bureaucrats like Anita Dunn, a woman with a long history of Democratic messaging manipulation, and Steve Ricchetti, a longtime Biden loyalist turned handler-in-chief. And let's not forget Mike Donnellan, the so-called message architect for Biden's presidency, aka the guy crafting the 3 good words Joe could remember for every speech. So while Biden was stumbling through teleprompter lines like a hostage blinking in Morse code, this trio, Dunn, Donnellan, Ricchetti, was making decisions that affected every American. Immigration, energy, foreign policy, China, none of it was actually being led by the man elected to do the job. And where was Jill Biden in all of this? Playing palace guard. Lindy said Jill was desperate to keep Joe in power, not because he could govern, but because she liked the power. She liked the bubble, the prestige, the photo ops. And now that Biden has finally shuffled off the stage, not voluntarily, by the way, he was pushed once the money dried up, who's left standing? Kamala Harris. Lindy tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. She said, when I talk to Kamala one-on-one, she's not an idiot. But that's a pretty low bar when the moment she gets near a microphone, her brain melts like it just blue screened. You know what I'm talking about. The infamous passage of time speech. The one where she loops the same phrase 5 times in 30 seconds, like a toddler trying to sound deep. There's such great significance to the passage of time. Yeah, Kamala, we know. We've all suffered through the passage of time every time you talk. But it's not just awkward phrasing or nervous energy. It's worse than that. Lindy flat out says Kamala cannot articulate a vision. During the most important 107-day campaign of her life, Harris disappeared from the media for an entire month. Who does that? A serious candidate? No. That's someone hiding because even her own team knows she's a liability every time she opens her mouth. And let's not forget, Lindy wasn't some random blogger saying this from the sidelines. She was on the inside, raising money, attending her holiday parties, going to events at the Naval Observatory, hanging with Doug, the whole thing. She wanted to believe. She really did. But she saw the same thing we see. Kamala Harris is not capable of leading the most powerful nation on earth. Not on policy, not on clarity, not on stage, not under pressure. And here's the kicker. Biden's people hated Kamala's team. Kamala's people hated Biden's team. It was an internal Cold War the whole time. But the left still forced her into position because of identity politics. Lindy confirmed it. The only people who wanted Biden to stay were those on his payroll or those with the last name Biden. Everyone else in the party was scrambling for the eject button. They just had to pretend Kamala was the answer, even though they knew she wasn't. So let me spell it out. We had a president who wasn't really president, a vice president who wasn't allowed to talk without scripts, a first lady acting like she was the commander-in-chief, and a White House controlled by unelected political lifers no one could name. And now we're expected to smile and clap for Kamala like she's the adult in the room? Please. If this is the best the Democrats have, they're in deeper trouble than even we thought. So there you have it. This isn't just a tell-all book about to come out. It's a confirmation. Everything we've been warning about for years, the empty presidency, the identity politics puppet show, the total abandonment of leadership, all of it was true. And now a former insider is blowing the whistle. Huge shout out to Dave Rubin for doing what the mainstream media refuses to do, asking real questions, giving real people space to speak, and letting the truth come out. Unfiltered and uninterrupted. That's what journalism should look like. If you're sick of being told you're a conspiracy theorist for seeing what's right in front of your face, if you're tired of watching the left blatantly lie and destroy anything in their path just to cling to power, help me keep the truth in front of the people who need to hear it. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who still thinks Kamala Harris was ready to lead because Joy Behar said so. And for more unfiltered, unapologetic, no BS commentary that exposes the nonsense and names the names, head over to steadfastandloyal.com. We're calling it like it is, every single day. As always, stay informed, stay free, and stay steadfast and loyal. I'm Jimmy Parker. Thanks for joining us.